Hello there, good afternoon. Time now for the news today. I am Emefa Akosiadeti. Coming up this afternoon, illegal mining has choked the central region, forcing residents to spend about 120 Ghana cedis every month on sachet and borehole water after the shutdown of the Konyako treatment plant.
It has been calm and maybe 3 days. 3 days, and the flow too, it doesn't flow well.
So within a month, we can spend like one sachet bag of water is 10 cedis at where I am. So like 120 or 150.
Details shortly as Lands Minister Emmanuel Amakofibua orders the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operation Task Force to deal ruthlessly with Galamsey operators.
The people of Ghana are saying to you, you cannot fail this time. And we will not fail.
Yes, sir.
And you can trust that His Excellency President John Mahama is back cheering for you to win.
And as well, Ghana Water Limited steps up clampdown on water theft and commercial losses as it announces fresh partnership with security agencies and the judiciary to roll out anti-water theft measures across the country.
Strengthening partnership with law enforcement, regulators, and judiciary to enforce anti-water theft measures.
We have more on that from an ongoing high-powered stakeholder engagement on the menace.
You use a normal battery for the renewable, the cost goes very, very high. So during the daytime when the solars are running, we'll preserve the water in Akosomo, then in the evening we'll bring the Akosomo on board. So now it acts as a battery and save the country.
And as well this afternoon, millions in fines continue to pile up as state institutions break Ghana's right to information law. Yet, it's ordinary taxpayers, not the officials' responsibility, who are footing the bill for their silence. We have excerpts of Corruption Watch latest investigation.
5.6 million Ghana cedis in 76 determinations involving 64 separate institutions and includes oversight bodies such as the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SHRAJ.
We're live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125 and around the world on myjoyonline.com. Joy News, independent, fearless and credible. Please stay for details. We appreciate your company this afternoon. First in the news, residents in the central region are facing a hidden but costly consequences of illegal mining, paying an average of 120 Ghana cedis every month on water after the Konyako treatment plant was shut down. The plant, which serves thousands with safe drinking water, was closed by the Regional Security Council and the Ghana Water Company Limited after mining pollution raised stability levels to dangerous heights. With tap water now unsafe, families are turning to sachet and borehole water for drinking, cooking and cleaning, adding to a heavy financial burden at a time.
Sometimes it has been calm and maybe 3 days. 3 days, and the flow too, it doesn't flow well.
It comes once every 3 days?
Yes, once every 3 days, and it takes maybe an hour to flow. So if you are not in the house to get some, then you wait for the next 3 days. Yes.
But what is the quality of water you get at home?
Very dirty. Yes, it's not that clean. So you can't even use it to cook. Me, I've been using pure water to cook sometimes, and even bathing, I've been using pure water to do that as well.
Within a month, we can spend like one sachet bag of water is 10 cedis at where I am. So like 120 or 150.
You spend like 120 or 150 in a month?
Exactly.
I see.
Because I'm a guy and cooking is very difficult for us, most of us.
Oh, you cook?
Of course, you have to cook. And I think I remember one time I had to cook around 12. Oh. I opened the tap and it was brown, like brown.
I'm selling meat pie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you use the tap water to do the meat pie?
Oh, I asked for the meat pie. We have the one
Borehole. Okay.
Yeah, pumping pipe.
Okay.
That we use.
So they sell it to you?
Yes.
How much do you use?
2 cedi.
One bucket?
Some of sell 1 cedi.
Okay.
Obiani send you sit ton.
Okay.
When the week.
Yes.
Oh, we spend.
Like how much? On average, how much do you spend if you do rough calculation?
Rough calculation. Maybe I spend 20 Ghana, 30 Ghana.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is.
Still on the impact of illegal mining, scientists are warning of a surge in diseases linked to Galamsey, from miscarriages to severe cognitive disorders in children. Toxic chemicals from mining are poisoning communities, turning an environmental disaster into a looming public health emergency.
A silent health emergency is unfolding, and scientists say it is far deadlier than we think. In mining communities especially, doctors are reporting an unusual rise in spontaneous abortions among women. Histoforensic pathologist Professor Paul Sampani links it to high levels of mercury and other heavy metals used in illegal mining operations.
In fact, I have about 500 cases where women are gone to the hospital and abort their babies because of concentration of these heavy metals in their placenta.
But it doesn't end there. Professor Sampani is also warning about children and babies born with severe learning difficulties, speech delays, and long-term cognitive disorders.
If care is not taken, there comes a point where you see a human being walking, but the brain, the cognitive impairment is so high, this autism and all those things that are coming up. Inhalation of mercury affects your brain and affects your nerves. It affects everything. Inhalation of or ingestion of mercury or inhalation or even contact with it alone is a problem.
The government has initiated some measures, including the Blue Water Guard and NIMOS, but not much has changed. Energy analyst Kojopoku wants the president to act.
Who deals with it? The president, the one who took the afana and swore to us. And you said he'll probably watch this program. But when he sits in that room to make a decision, guess who's around him? His political advisors. The impact of your decision on the ground. How will it affect you politically? You see, people keep forgetting that. And they say, don't bring politics into it. But unfortunately, his very being is politics.
But the Vice President's Economic Policy Advisor, Sharif Mahmoud Khalid, insists the fight cannot be left to the president alone, but a stakeholder engagement would find a way forward.
If we are resigning only this to a president, then I think we are all going to fail.
No.
Right?
Because the president
we all have a role to act. Right? So what I am invariably saying or calling for is that what can we do to curb this situation?
Meanwhile, Lands and Natural Resources Minister Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa has ordered the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Task Force to deal ruthlessly with illegal miners. Addressing the task force before the weekend deployment, the minister said illegal mining demands urgent and decisive action.
And those unseen faces knock at your door to try to compromise you. Remember every day that you have pledged to be faithful and loyal to Ghana, your motherland. The children that are all having all these deformities, those that are dying innocently, all the villagers, innocent women and children who are drinking this poison, the hopelessness of thousands of people who have no water because the source of our water, the forest, is being destroyed. See your hands. This is why you are here. My friends, the people of Ghana are saying to you, you cannot fail this time. And we will not fail. Yes, sir. And you can trust that His Excellency President John Mahama is back cheering for you to win.
Now, the Ghana Water Limited has announced plans to strengthen partnership with security agencies and the judiciary to step up efforts to clamp down illegal water connection. This comes at the back of growing concerns over wastages in the water distribution system, resulting in heavy losses to the Ghana Water Limited. We'll hear from the Ghana Water Limited shortly, but first, listen to the acting managing director, Adam Mutawakilu, cite meter bypassing customers, non-payment of bills, among others, as factors contributing to the company's losses. He's been speaking at an ongoing stakeholder engagement at the Labadi Beach Hotel in Accra a while ago.
The issue of commercial water losses is one of the present challenges facing Ghana Water Limited today. These losses, driven by illegal connection, meter bypassing, inaccurate billing, and non-payment for water consumed, significantly impact our revenue. This not only threatens our financial sustainability, but also hampers our ability to expand water infrastructure to underserved communities, maintain and upgrade aging network, and ensure consistent supply of safe and affordable water to all Ghanaians.
Well, he said the situation is not only depriving the Ghana Water Limited revenue, but also making it difficult for the company to fund its operations.
Since assuming office in February 2025, we have faced a challenging landscape, significant liability on electricity, chemicals, other operational costs, continuing pressure on equipment procurement needs, and a mounting wage bill driven by low revenue. In July 2025, our established revenue enhancement teams, though their operational period has been brief, their field investigation have mapped skilled actors, hotspots, topography of commercial losses across our systems. This finding gives us a far clearer picture of where we are and how to act decisively.
My colleague James Abeji is at the stakeholder engagement and joins us with more. James, and so did the Ghana Water Limited say how they are going to address these challenges?
Well, Abafa, they have been professing some solutions, but what we are realizing from the presentation is that the problem is bigger than we thought, because the indication we've always got is that the issue is with people who are doing illegal connections, people who bypass meters. From the indication we are getting from their checks on the ground, the indication is that even people who get the meters, for instance, someone may apply for domestic meters, but will be using those meters to do commercial water sales. There are people who apply for certain type of commercial meters, but use it for an upgraded commercial water sales, which you know that those every meter is calibrated to read in a certain way, and so at the end of the day they are selling more water, but the GWCL is being able to get only amount that are less than what they are selling to the general public. The MD is indicating that they are going to strengthen their partnership with the Ghana Police Service, the national security, as well as the judiciary, in order to step up the clampdown on some of these illegal activities of their customers.
So if they are part of this syndicate, they probably should be getting ready. Did they at least give some timeline?
No timeline has been given, but I can assure you that the Ghana Police Service is also here as part of the stakeholder engagement. The national security is here. What we do not have is the judiciary. Of course, we know that they are on break, but the stakeholders are still speaking. We'll be waiting to get some, confirmation from the police or indication on how ready they are to hit the grounds running as far as these investigations and arrests and prosecutions will be. And so all of these partners are all here as part of the engagement and solution to tackle the issues, MFR.
Well, thank you so much, James Aveji, who is the stakeholder engagement still happening at the Labadi Beach. In the news as well, the people of Droboagya, a farming community in the Techima North District of the Benue East region, are facing a cruel irony. Their community, whose very name means the people of the Drobo River, is now watching that same life-changing source turn against them. The river is shrinking and turning stickingly yellow, forcing residents to drink from its polluted waters and sparking fears of disease, all while their namesake slowly disappears. Anas Sabit visited the community in our reports.
A community named after its life-giving river, now facing a crisis as that very source of life dwindles and turns against them. For generations, this river was more than just water. It was their identity. But now, that identity is under threat. Human activity and environmental neglect have turned this once pristine source into a murky, receding trickle, leaving an entire community in a desperate search for clean, safe water.
Adebako de high say, therefore, quite you papa so say, I know we are a band.
Women in this community trek for kilometers not to a shrine, but to the only water source they have, the Drobo River. This is the journey of necessity, a daily pilgrimage for the people of Droboagya. Standing here on the banks of the Drobo River, you can see clearly the problem. The water has this unsettling yellowish tint. The community tells us it wasn't always like this. They describe a river that was once clear, vibrant, and full of life. Now it is a symbol of their struggle.
I mean, many Freddy, young grand, mamma, and yet Mr. School, Abotare, and see with him crack you. Abotare, and Abotare sim, I bet with him senior, my baby. What's that? No, when you don't want to say no cranium, name this.
The reasons for the river's decline are visible all around. Farming encroaches right up to the banks, with soil erosion washing directly into the water. Other human activities are causing the riverbed to silt up and the flow to slow to a crawl, especially in the dry season.
So, I do be a mobile. She said, "Quite we sing super talk. Never so sorry in a bagoon swim. And as any be Obanumbi. What is the Percy and country across Yabucras in Nawasa? Or is near you say when Yabucras in Nawasa?"
Despite the desperation, the spirit of Droboagya is not broken. Their appeal is not just a cry for help, but a plea for their future. They are named for this river and they fear being remembered as the generation that watched it die. A community's identity tied to a river that can no longer sustain them. Their hope now rests on an intervention that will prevent further stress and potential disease. For the people of Droboagya, water, the most basic human need, remains their greatest challenge. Reporting for Joy News, Anas Sabit, Droboagya.
You're watching news today as well. Ghana's long fight for the right to information law was meant to open doors for citizens seeking answers, but 5 years on, the very institutions meant to uphold transparency are shutting those doors, raking up millions in fines in the process. A Corruption Watch investigation has found that at least 64 public and private institutions have been penalized for breaking the RTI law, with taxpayers' money often footing the bill. From schools and hospitals to the police and parliament. The cost of silence is running into millions, while citizens are still left in the dark. Here are excerpts.
Person may request information from a state or a qualifying private institution by writing a letter addressed to the information officer of the institution. The information officer is to provide the information within 14 days if the information is not exempt. If the information officer does not provide the information within 14 days, then the requester can appeal to the head of the institution, which gives the head of the institution 15 days to provide the information. If the head of the institution does not provide the information, then the requester can file a complaint to the RTI Commission or the High Court. The RTI Commission may impose a penalty on the institution depending on the circumstances of the case.
The Commission decides to impose administrative penalty on an institution. There are certain factors that we consider in doing so. Some of them we consider the responsiveness of the institution involved. Some of them come in cooperating with the Commission. When that happens, then we enter into some kind of negotiation with such institutions. We also look at the ability of the institution to be able to finance the imposition of penalty on them. Some of them, we consider the entire circumstances of the case. And so we do not just resort to imposing penalties on institutions, but then again, we consider the totality of the circumstance of the case before we end up imposing such penalties on institutions. We also look at the seriousness of the breach.
Now, Corruption Watch investigations have uncovered that some key governance institutions which should be promoting access are refusing or failing to comply with the law by denying access to information requested by citizens. This refusal or failure to provide the requested information has led to the imposition of fines by the RTIC. The records show that as of the 16th of July 2025, the RTIC had imposed penalties of approximately 5.6 million Ghana cedis in 76 determinations involving 64 separate institutions. The executive secretary of the RTIC stresses that the fines imposed do not serve as a substitute for the information that is imposed to be released to an applicant.
A fine is never a substitute for information being. Once you are compelled to pay the administrative penalty, it does not automatically erase the fact that you have to provide the information. Providing the information becomes mandatory, it becomes a directive of the Commission, which needs to be complied with. For the imposition of the penalty is as a result of your default instead.
Meanwhile, the list of violators of the law is long and includes oversight bodies such as the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SHRAJ, which is yet to pay a fine of 30,000 cedis. The Judicial Service of Ghana, also yet to pay a fine of 100,000 cedis. The Attorney General's Department, also yet to pay a fine of 50,000 cedis. The Public Procurement Authority, PPA, also yet to pay a fine of 100,000 cedis. The Ghana Police Service, which has paid 450,357 cedis. The Ghana Audit Service, which has paid 60,000 cedis, and the Parliamentary Service, which has paid 53,785 cedis. 5 institutions have paid the heaviest fines. They are the Agricultural Development Bank, a total of 1,365,000 Ghana cedis. Ghana Police Service, 450,357 cedis. The Ministry of Education, 260,000 cedis. The Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SNIT, 200,000 cedis, and the Lands Commission, 150,000 cedis.
Well, lawyer Zakaria Tanko Musa is a legal practitioner, of course. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. First, let's start with how worrying is it that institutions like the police, parliament, judiciary, SHRAJ, and the Attorney General's departments, which really should uphold transparency, are themselves in the violation of the RTI law? I'm quite sure you know why I'm starting my question from there.
It's a right basis to start your question, because as you rightly pointed out, that is clearly unacceptable. And it's disappointing and embarrassing, actually. It is embarrassing because when you look at these institutions and the role they play in our, if you like, criminal justice or in our constitutional architecture, they play huge roles. So they should be leading the way. And frankly, what we are talking about, it's really something that is a low-hanging fruit. You know, I don't see the basis for getting themselves caught up in that, because what is it? It's about accessing information. That information is in your custody. You have been placed or given that information because of the role you play. But technically, when you look at the information that you have, if you can have access to that information, what makes you think that no other citizen also have the right to access that information? Are you more Ghanaian? Are you more Ghanaian than anybody else? No. It's just because you have been entrusted with that information because of the role you play. So every citizen has a stake in the information you have. It's a national resource.
Does it look to you as though they are just being nonchalant about it, or they think that these are sensitive information and so they show them the information? How does it look for you?
Well, my experience, and I have extensively been involved in this, my experience is that it's both. There are instances where they're just nonchalant, they don't care. They don't even respond to you. You write to them and they don't even respond because they don't really, because you see, it's coming from so many years of holding information in that secrecy. So moving away from that, you know, that situation, it's not easy. Right. That's why a lot of resources was invested into building people's capacity. And that has been done. I mean, from the previous government, even up to now. So some people don't care at all. They wouldn't respond. But some, they look at the information you are asking for. They are not too sure what you want to use that information for. Mind you, the right to information law says you don't have to give reasons why you are asking for that information. So long as it's not an exempt information, I don't need to tell you what I need that information for. I say I want that information, give it to me. So sometimes they're not too sure what people need that information for. So they think, okay, let's play this tactics and see whether the person would go away. So some people are very tactical in the refusal to release, but some people just don't care and they don't see how serious this issue of access to information is.
What about the penalties? What about the funds? Especially because it's definitely taxpayers' money that will be used to pay for these penalties anyway. How does it come to you?
Well, I have said that is a no-brainer, because somebody is sitting somewhere, he knows he's supposed to provide you with information. He or she fails or refuses to provide you with that information. Then you find the person. When you find the person, the money is not coming to come from his or her pocket. It's coming to come from the institution. So where is the deterrent there? That's why I'm saying that, well, if we can establish that the information that was requested is not information that is exempt, and there was nothing that stopped that person from releasing that information, but the person willfully refused to release that information, certainly the state shouldn't pay that money. That individual who recklessly failed to provide that information, he or she should be surcharged. And how do we do that? Let's attach their earnings. Interestingly, we're talking about public institutions where the income or the earnings of the person is regulated. We know where the earning is coming from. Right. Attach their earning. I have said that don't bankrupt them. Attach the earning, let them spread it. I think if we do that 1, 2, 3 times, I think that we'll be able to be making some headway. But frankly, this situation where we are using taxpayers' money to pay the states and all those things is not unjust.
Finally, before I end this conversation with you, do you think that the RTI has that mandate? Can they enforce the compliance at all?
Well, they have been trying to enforce, but I know that they have tried to get some powers so that they can prosecute as well.
Okay.
I don't know how far they have gone with that, but now they are deploying the powers they have, which is the penalties and all those things. But you see, that for me is not solving the problem. But it means that we have to also go back and look at the law as well, and look at the legal framework and the policy framework. And then I think we need to attach the failure and refusal of institutions to release information to their performance metrics, so that those institutions can actually be dealt with in that way as well.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the news today, sharing your thoughts on this expose by Corruption Watch. Now, away from that, the latest tracking poll by Global Info Analytics puts Haruna Idrisu ahead of other contenders as favorite candidates to lead the ruling NDC into the 2028 elections. Meanwhile, Dr. Bawumia continues to be the clear favorite in the NPP race. A new Global Info Analytics poll has given Haruna Idrisu the edge as the man most Ghanaians expect to lead the governing NDC into the 2028 elections. Now, he tops the list of potential flag bearers, pulling ahead of Asante Kotoko, Ato Forsen, Julius Debra, and Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa. On the other side, Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia maintains a commanding lead in the NPP race, far ahead of Kennedy Japan. The poll also tested possible 2028 matchups, and the results show Haruna Idrisu coming up on top against Bawumia. My colleague Kofi Ajay is here in studio to at least bring some light into that poll. Kofi, let's understand this. Consistently, I've seen that the Global Info Analytics has put Haruna Idrisu as the forerunner. How are they arriving at this?
Well, so this is their tracking poll, and over 9,000 respondents were actually interviewed across all 16 regions. And this is the result that Global Info Analytics is having. This will give us the chance to compare the results of the poll in July and then also in September and see who has lost and who has gained in terms of the momentum. So you see right here in terms of who to lead the NDC, clearly, just like you mentioned, Haruna Idrisu is leading that race with about 30%. But one thing you see is that unlike the NPP race where the vote is actually skewed to the right, what you see in the NDC case is that you have a fair level of distribution where even Haruna Idrisu, who is leading, is not able to get more than half of the respondents who were interviewed. But Asante Kotoko will still fancy his chance. He's coming in with 24.1%, and other, aspirants are also there. Ato Forsen, 18.4%. But let's look at the July poll and then September poll and see what we have so far in terms of what has changed. And if you look at Haruna Idrisu's brackets, he's been able to add some 3 percentage points to his popularity, moving from 27% to 30%. Asante Kotoko, on the other hand, has been able to, he dropped, unfortunately, from 26 to 24. Ato Forsen,
between July and September.
Absolutely. Ato Forsen in July, and when the economy was performing so well, the dollar, the cedi becoming the best performing currency in the world, was having 22% in terms of popularity. But as we get close to the third quarter and ending the third quarter, he has actually dropped in popularity from 22% to 18%. But there were some interesting pairings that were also done. And in terms of the blocks, if you look at the account block, like, for instance, who would you vote for? Definitely you see Asante Kotoko leading in the account block, and Ato Forsen coming second with Haruna Idrisu third, and Julius Debra for the. If you go to the northern block, there you see Haruna Idrisu for the first time leading with a mammoth number 59, almost 60%, and Asante Kotoko coming just with 17%, Ato Forsen 9%, Julius Debra, unfortunately, and then Okudzeto-Ablakwa, all not able to poll 5% of the people who were interviewed. If you go to the OT region, definitely Okudzeto-Ablakwa is leading there. And if you do the swing regions, you see Haruna Idrisu reflecting that 29% also there. Let's do some matchups that were done in terms of the head-to-head, and you see an interesting pairing that we are getting. And the question was, in an election, if you have Asante Kotoko and then Bawumia, who would you vote for? And this was the outcome: 50% for Asante Kotoko, 45% for Bawumia.
That's quite close, though.
Very, very close. If you have Asante Kotoko and Kennedy Japan, Asante Kotoko was still leading. But if you have Baumia and Julius Debra, who we vote for. This was the outcome. But I mean, one thing we have observed in terms of the polling numbers is that Global Info Analytics interviewed more NDC voters than MPP voters, with floating voters just being a small component of that sample size. And so we may say...
For this particular block.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we are saying that this could have influenced the results here, because once you interview more NDC members than MPP members and you ask them to choose between MPP candidates and NDC candidates, you definitely will have an inflated outcome for the NDC. So this is what we are getting. And the last one that I'll put out there is Kennedy Japan versus Julius Debra, with Kennedy Japan coming on top there. So you say
that they interviewed which group of persons more?
In fact, they interviewed more NDC than MPP. If I can get that data, that will put this in proper context. If you look at the sample size.
But even so, for a particular match, you definitely will see that even though they interviewed more NDC, still Baumia seemed to have some numbers ahead of the
Exactly what we are trying to put across. And if you look at the party affiliation, which is here, you can see NDC in terms of the numbers, very, very high compared to MPP. Floating voters, just around 15 and 17%.
This group of people, the way they are so dangerous.
They're undisclosed and then floating voters. So this is what we are tracking. That's when
can you see if you can share with me that particular slide that tells if you match Baumia and Julius Debra.
Let's try and see Baumia and other candidates and see
that's even a better way.
This is it. So you have Baumia versus Haruna Idrisu. Who would you vote for? This is swing regions. Definitely going for Haruna Idrisu, 63%, Baumia, 35%. Baumia and Atoforsen in the swing regions, you have Atoforsen leading. If you have Esiedun Ketia versus Baumia in the swing region, definitely Esiedun Ketia is leading. And even Julius Debra in the swing regions is beating Baumia, and we are saying that possibly the sample size and the party affiliation of the people that Global Info Analytics spoke to possibly could have influenced this outcome.
I think this brings clarity to the methodology that they use. Thank you so much. You can as well visit My Joy online and take a read, especially for that research. But away from that, the Subin River, once a vital water source flowing through Kumasi, now gasps beneath mountains of filth and plastic waste. What should be a life-giving stream has become stagnant, choking drains of decay, a festering reminder of a city drowning in its own waste. Emmanuel Bright-Kweko reports on the situation, especially sanitation crisis, that is threatening both the city's pride as the garden city and its people's health.
Traversing the Asoka overpass to the Ahojo roundabout in Kumasi, a sight never missed is a pile of garbage resting in and along the Subin River. In this massive heap of refuse is a mixture of plastics, organic waste, electronic gadgets and other solid wastes. The rubbish stagnated in the weeds and the choked drains now serve as a breeding ground for various infectious diseases. For residents and traders near to this unpleasant scene, they must live with the perennial sanitation crisis.
Because they are from
Abinchi. A businessman here cleared the drains some time ago, but they are back again. Plastic pollution remains a major challenge, degrading the beauty of the city, touting itself as the garden city of West Africa. The pollution is driven by increased urbanization and consumption, with vast amounts of plastic waste overwhelming waste management systems. The Kumasi metropolis produces at least 1,500 tons of solid waste daily, with plastic waste accounting for about 54 tons, approximately 3.52% of this total.
It's not happening today. It has been happening. We've seen people taking it out, but still it is coming. And here is also part of the garden city. One of the biggest towns even here is an industrial area, because we are in Aswa. So it's an industrial area. And you can see an industrial area. Look at what is happening here. Surely there is a recycle company around. So they can use this, recycle it, do something different.
Local government authorities are worried the indiscriminate waste disposal habits in the city cut budgetary spending intended for other critical infrastructure.
if you were to take excavators today, the volume of work that is there, you would have to go on about 20 to 50 trips to get everything out. We are looking for money to provide lights for our streets, and then all of a sudden this comes and it becomes an emergency because it's an environmental issue. So you have to go using the little resources that you have to do things that are needful to go and do this one, and it's as a result of our bad behavior.
Not only is this a sanitation crisis, but a ticking time bomb for a disaster should there be any heavy downpour. It's from here at the Ahojo Enclave in the Ashanti region. My name is Emmanuel Bright Kweku.
You're watching News Today. Time now for World Today. Now, Seychelles will head back to the polls after last week's presidential election produced no outright winner. The Electoral Commission announced that opposition leader Patrick Jimenez secured 48% of the vote, while incumbent President Waval Ramkalawan garnered 46%. According to electoral rules, a candidate must secure more than 50% of the vote to be declared winner. With neither candidate crossing that mark, a runoff has been scheduled for next week. Seychelles, Africa's smallest country, is a 115-island archipelago in the Indian Ocean with a population of just over 120,000. 8 hopefuls contested the presidency, but now the race is narrowed down to 2. President Ramkalawan, seeking a second term, is campaigning on economic recovery, social development and environmental sustainability under his party. And as well, his main challenger, Jimenez, represents the United Seychelles Party, which dominated the nation's politics from 1977 until 2020, when it lost its majority to Ramkalawan's party. You're watching News Today. Please stay. There's more after this break.
Welcome back. I am Michelle Ejekum. Let's do some business stories. Now, fuel prices at the pumps are on the rise again as more oil marketing companies follow GOIL's lead in adjusting prices upward. This comes more than a week after GOIL, one of the major players in the industry, increased the prices of all petroleum products by over 3%.
Shell, for instance, went up over the weekend. However, not all products were increased at the pumps. Checks by Joy Business showed that diesel went up and a litre is going for 14 Ghana cedis, 18 pesos. However, that of petrol, which was selling at 13 Ghana cedis, 59 pesos, September 2, 2025, has been reduced to 13 Ghana cedis, 44 pesos. Another major oil marketing company will be increasing their prices later this morning. However, it appears that most of these oil marketing companies may not increase their prices, but wait for October 2, 2025, that is next month. Some of them have told Joy Business that competition has forced most of them to keep prices unchanged during the second pricing window for this month.
Now, the World Bank is urging a comprehensive review of the Bank of Ghana's foreign exchange intervention program. This follows the bank's latest report revealing that nearly $4 billion was spent between November last year and May 2025 to stabilize the city. The World Bank becomes the second major institution after the IMF to raise concerns about the sustainability and impact of the central bank's intervention.
The World Bank in its report says the action by the regulator resulted in almost 60% appreciation of the Ghana cedi during that period. But the World Bank noted that even though this might be celebrated, there are concerns about the sustainability of this move. The World Bank was worried about the impact of this on Ghana's international reserves if the pressure on the cedi is sustained. In the medium term, the World Bank says an appreciation of the exchange rate could harm exports and boost imports, showing an accumulation of the foreign exchange reserves. But in the long-term effects, the bank says could include price distortions and could weaken local production, as well as tradable goods, reduce the country's competitiveness, and hinder ongoing structural reforms aimed at transforming the Ghanaian economy.
And that's it for business. I am Michelle Ejekum. For more business news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. Sports is up next.
You do this.
Haruna Mubarak. Now, Asante Kotoko will face Wydad Casablanca in the next round of the Confederation Cup after a 1-0 win over Kwara United at the Abiola International Stadium. The result marks Kotoko's first victory in Nigeria in 55 years as they progressed 5-3 on aggregate. Here's their head coach, Karim Zito.
A lot changed because in our football industry, we get something called occupational hazard that happened to us in Ghana. So definitely we didn't repeat it here. We visit the video between Kwara United and we saw the space and time we gave to them. So we work on that. We know majority of them are senior players. They are not young like my players. So when we close the space and then we deny them the space, we deny them the time, they can't play us. So we only have to do that. And then the second half, we come in and then set for the goal. So we did that during the 45 minutes. And then we came back again, scored the long goal, and then we coiled back to our normal tactical play. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. We gave them the space and time, and they were able to play there. So when you go back to the video, you see that in defensive, we were thinking about squad. We said we are going to beat them 3-0. This is what we said. This is the target we set for ourselves because we know we are coming to Nigeria. You understand me? And we have to respect that. So after getting it, we called back and they came back again. So in a nutshell, that is why I started by saying it was an occupational hazard that before us. So now we sat back, looked through and we saw that if we deny them space here, they can't play us.
And that's your sports on JN Today. My name is Haruna Mubarak. Up next is Showbiz.
Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I am Loish Lademi, and it is time for Showbiz. Now, Kwale Klote, Member of Parliament, Dr. Zaneto Agyemang-Rawlings, has fired back at critics who attack her over the excesses of the revolution led by her late father, former President Jerry John Rawlings, questioning both their fairness and maturity. Speaking on Joy News' podcast, Talk No the Cook Rise, she minced no words, stressing that she has no respect for cowards. According to her, if people have something to say, they should be bold enough to say it openly. Earlier in March, Parliament launched a formal investigation to identify the MP who, during a sitting on February 4, 2025, described Dr. Agyemang-Rawlings as the daughter of a murderer, a remark widely condemned as offensive and unparliamentary.
I don't think this is about Jamaica. I think you pick and choose your battles. I will not publicly or privately turn my back on my parents because I know what they did. I'm also aware of the sacrifices they made with regards to parenthood. And sometimes the loudest voice is not the most honest voice. And I'm not under any illusion that my father was loved by everyone. There has been a lot of misinformation. And as a leader, he decided that he would let the buck stop with him. So a lot of things that many people had accused him of actually had nothing to do with him, but he took ownership of everything because that's what you do as a leader. There are people who know the actual truth who are still alive today. But for reasons best known to them, they've kept quiet about what they knew to be the truth of a lot of things that happened. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think that whether it was the period of 79 or 81, anyone can say that it was something that happened without incident. No.
Well, Dr. Zaneto Rollins also shared a more personal side of her story, recalling how her father taught her how to fly an aircraft at ages 13 and 15, an intentional effort to break gender stereotypes in aviation.
He came to pick me up one day. We had these new aircrafts in the Air Force, and per the specifications, per the manual, this was an aircraft that with one engine failure, you should have been able to continue flying and successfully land. And he wanted to make sure it was true what the aircraft manufacturers were claiming. He came to pick me up from the house one day to go flying with him for the thing he was going to do. And when he got there, a friend of my mom's was in the house, and my siblings were there, and my mom's friend said, so why won't you take the others? Why are you only taking her? And I remember this conversation so vividly, because he said, well, he's going to try something.
Well, moving away from that, despite pounding rains, tens of thousands packed into the Baba Yara Sports Stadium on Saturday night. Osakodia returned home to Kumasi for his flagship Rapperholic concert themed The Homecoming. The historic event marked the first time the annual show had been staged outside Accra, and fans showed spirits high and umbrellas up, refusing to let the weather dull the moment. Now, Shatawale, Ifya Jackie, Kofi Kenata, Medical, and other surprise guests turned the stadium into an electric cathedral of music with booming performances, crowd sing-alongs. It was a celebration of legacy, loyalty, and lyrical power. I'm Lois Lademi, and this is how I end Showbiz. On to you.
Thank you so much, Shola. Thank you. I wish I was in Kumasi. So I got here. I got here. Well, thank you as well for tuning in. We've started our week quite bright and shine. There's more news if you log on to myjoyonline.com. My memefa akosia adeti. Daryl comes up with Marketplace. Please stay.